Good evening. My name is Dr. Susan Feneck, and I am the CEO and founder of Juvenile Justice Impact. And tonight we have the distinct honor and privilege of being with Lisa Vasquez. She is a professional imager who has integrated into holistic health coach. And the one thing about Juvenile Justice Impact, we're here to heal, to help, to motivate, to educate. And her story, I think, is a combination of everything.
Very excited to be here. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's been a pleasure and a great ride going through this life of mine, working with women. And so, as a professional imager, I've been with the war against breast cancer, fighting in breast health. I've done that for a little over 40 years. So, on individual days, I see at least around 25, 30, could be 15 women a day individually. So within that time individually, we share stories of truth, of rejuvenating life, going through challenges, overcoming challenges especially. So there's just so much that these women have taught me since I was 20 years old, they were 50. So they gave me this long path to live through and grow up in, and they've changed my whole life. And so today, now it's time for me to pass that baton back on and give back and engage in this change. So here is where I'm headed, and with the youth of today, creating the change, starting with the juvenile justice and creating a change, changing mindsets because of what I've seen in the past 20 years in my women's health care, that their lives are declining in their health.
In which ways?
And so many changes are occurring just as they walk in. I mean, in the ways that I grew up in, we had better environment, soils.
Are you saying walking into where they're being diagnosed? Or
women coming into the exam room.
Oh, okay.
Coming into the exam room. So when they're coming into the exam room, through the years, as I started back in the 80s, environment was different, food was different, family life was different. We had a stronger mindset because we weren't being so bombarded with what technology does today. So with that change, I just started to notice a decline on women's health. Again, when we get sick and we have issues, a lot of it's not really recognized as though we really have a problem.
Do you feel like stress has a lot to do with that because of demands?
Stress
have changed more over the years?
Yes.
Of what women are demanded of?
They really don't have a real life that they're living anymore.
They're a human doing, not a human being.
There you go. They're just very active in and connected to the technology, which can't be helped. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, you can't even take the phone away from a baby, let alone a person who has their whole story on their life history. I mean, the ringing of the phone, the calling, the texts, and this and that. And, as a mother, having the children calling or the teacher or whatever besides the workforce that they're in. And that is what I find a lot of body sabotage comes from, because it stays internally.
In body sabotaging, you're meaning?
Internally, inflaming their bodies with all the stress, with all the anxiety, with all the different crap food that they're eating on the run. Processed foods. There's so much of that because everything needs to be instant, because people are losing their lives as far as taking time to be home.
You see the women going down the freeway doing their mascara, eating out of a salad bowl, and it's just like,
or let alone driving, looking at the cell phone,
being under that much stress and pressure.
Because there's so much that, when we had our telephones at home, we never really worried about missing a phone call. When we got home, we'd hear the recordings and we'd say, "Oh, well, let me call them."
Right.
But now, that phone could be right next to you, and there it goes. And right away, even in my exam room, when I'm with the women, their phones are going. And they want to react, and here they're with me working, but it's just an instinct. It's just that chime that's a reactive,
right?
That becomes so.
It's almost like you're taught how to react. Like you hear the phone ding, I might miss something. And back in the day when we were growing up, right? I mean, the phone rang. We were like, whatever. And what's it called when you want to discard someone, or my parents would put the phone off the hook.
Right.
They would just be like, we don't want any phone calls, and they would put the phone off the hook because we'd be eating dinner or whatever it might be. But I mean, that's talking a long time ago. But I understand you're talking about media and social media and technology and how it changes our mindset, right?
Exactly. And then with our youth, it's harder.
Yeah.
Now, because I've been researching lately. I have the opportunity to go back to my high school in Chicago and go speak. I am speaking with Enterprise Global. One woman, one girl is the Enterprise.
Oh, right. I remember talking to you about that. Yeah.
So I was going to Chicago for the first time, and this is where I've grown up, on the South Side. So I get to return, and now I'll be the speaker to the women. But while I was there and thought one woman, one girl, I needed to go find that girl, so I called my high school. And I proposed to them and told them what my plans were. It's really changing mindset, because back in our day, 1900s, because these are the girls, the American girls today, in the 2000s, it's a whole different world.
And that must be so rewarding. I mean, to go back to your high school and give back. Like, you remember walking through those hallways. You remember being an adolescent in 10th grade, 11th grade, and the struggles you were going through. And then now you're like, you're walking with a purse, not a book bag, and now you're like, how can I make a difference with these youth from what I experienced and what you're doing?
The funny part is, I was the first class to do all 4 years there. The first class. And beside that, I actually watched them build this school from across the street. I used to go hang out with my father at a bowling alley.
School back then.
Brand new school, and I was the first class to do all 4 years. So the alumni opportunity that I have, and here I come back. So it's like being... Then, the name of the school is Madame Curie. I work in radiology. So that connection with the Curie is just like incredible. So when I come back,
it was meant to be.
Right? I mean, that was just like so amazing. So when I come back, just to be able to thank her and show the students there the opportunities that were given to me. But of course, today they have harder challenges, because our mindsets were not easily taken away from us, because we really didn't have a lot of magazines. We had them, but not like they are today, being put out there in our face in the way, Tiger Beat or something back then, Donny Osmond.
No, yeah, we had the Dukes of Hazzards, the Love Boat, Fantasy Island. And,
Real Relations.
Those were the shows. Those are pretty much the primary 3 shows that we watched, and we played outside as kids. So did you find that you had any struggles talking to the schools, and the difference from when you knew yourself as a youth and talking to the youth today?
Finding the struggles, please clarify that a little more.
No, like when you were a kid, when you were going to that school, and you think about some of the obstacles that you may have had.
Yes.
And then you were talking about the differences between when you were a kid and the children today, or the youth today. So when you were speaking to the youth in your high school, did you find any challenges trying to get to them in a way that you would have, in your, say, your old self, been talking to?
Exactly. Well, this is coming up in April when I do go talk to them, and that's why this research has been so important. And then really, to tell you about that whole story with me in this high school is just an amazing difference from today. One teacher was holding me back for a minute, and then another teacher was advancing me and giving me the go because she's seen it in me. And she actually told me that, I want you. I hope one day you can come back and let me know I made the right choice.
Is she still with us today?
She is, but I was able to meet her, and I seen her. I was working on the north side of Chicago, up in Evanston, and this teacher,
is like a made-for-movie. I want to...
She was walking into a restaurant, and I was like, oh my God, there's Mrs. Waters. Oh my God.
Isn't it amazing how we remember names?
Miss Winters.
Right.
Yeah, Waters was the other one, but Miss Winters. And I was like, and so I went to the restaurant, I walked in, and I was in my uniform, and I was able to say, remember that day, 1979, August? You handed me this ticket and said you believed in me and you've seen something in me, and I hoped one day you can tell me that I was correct, and here I am today, and I am so thankful to meet you here, and I just wanted to tell you, and I wanted you to see me, and it was a real gift that day.
Isn't it incredible how educators in our past like you said, she gave you a ticket. Like, and it was like your ticket to ride. It was your ticket to be who you are. It was that ticket to give you the confidence, to give you the wherewithal, to give you the perseverance, to give you whatever, everything that you needed to even be wearing that T-shirt.
Exactly.
Right?
That's why the excitement to come back and show these students of a life well lived, with the bumps and roady, broken glass I had to walk on and the pain I had to go through, but the challenges and the changes and the choices and decisions that came from that to present to them. I mean, I was here in the Nevada America pageant a couple years ago. So that was like, wow, Nevada loves me. I mean, it was just awesome for me to have that opportunity to be on there. And then in another, in the 40 and over international women's, it was a great opportunity to be in another pageant. And so these things to come back and tell them. Recently, September 21st, I just became an author with 24 other beautiful ladies.
Congratulations.
We are an author. So,
oh, right. I remember you telling me about that.
And so
So it's a collaboration.
It's all just rolling out.
And what about the other authors?
24 of them.
Mm-hmm. So they're all talking about inspirational stories?
Inspirational stories. We talk about the parts of life, of the breaking down roads, people in business when they lose track and don't feel like they can reconnect. There's a story in there for that. There's 25 chapters.
Is it completed now?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So the big purpose of this whole podcast is to help, to heal, to educate. Tell our listeners where they can find that book, because it sounds phenomenal to me. It sounds like people can really learn from, obviously, your story and from all these other stories, because there might be that one story that someone opens up and is like, hey, I'm not alone. How can I grow from this? How can I learn from this? How can I overcome whatever it might be? Yes. Where do we find it?
Well, the name of the book is Becoming an Unstoppable Woman from the She Rises community. And it is just like incredible. I will have my landing page posted on your site so we can have that book out there. But each chapter, we found that women fall and don't come back in spring. They don't spring back up. There's a lot of changes and challenges. Right, but the road really wasn't broken. And that's how we teach them to connect. Because through all that pain and joy, really, there's a lot of treasures in the darkness, right? But you don't see them because you're not looking for them. But when we open your eyes to this, it's crazy, all the stories that are in that book, from healing, from illness, from different challenges of women.
Just as we're watching the Olympics recently, it really is so inspiring, when you look at the backstories, like one woman who was struggling with her weight and started to ride a bike, and now she's a cyclist in the Olympics. The stories of triumph and overcoming and the success. And it sounds to me like I can't wait to read it. I haven't had the opportunity to read it yet, but I think that there's going to be a little piece of everyone that can relate to, I'm sure, to every single one of those stories.
Yes, and that's why this book has gone international. It's in, I think, 23 different languages. It's gone number one in, I think, 13 countries already. It's Amazon number one. It's even coming into Target and Walmart now. They've exposed this book everywhere.
That's
it's a chance for women to really grow and really be awakening. Mm-hmm. The big awakening. It's a big awakening.
And think of all the people how many authors are in there?
25.
So there's 25 stories of overcoming and being empowered and reaching their goal no matter what it took. And think of all the people who are going to sit there with a cup of coffee or whatever it might be and flipping through that book and be like, oh my God, that's me. And you know what I mean? Like, that's me, this is me. And then they'll go through and then they'll be like, wow, if someone identifies with any one of those stories, which I'm sure a lot of people will, they can be like, wow, I could really do this,
Right. And that's exactly what Becoming an Unstoppable Woman is all about. I mean, it's not like I was just this great woman who just went through all this.
You were.
As I said, there lots of broken glass, lots of broken glass. You had to feel it all, but that's what I mean. And with my high school, being able to bring this back to these students, changing that mindset, opening them up to be awakened, because again, they couldn't catch us that easy. Onto the juvenile justice, onto the human trafficking. When we talk about that, it's pretty devastating to know when I look at the 1900s, they couldn't catch us and steal us that easy. They couldn't catch us because they couldn't get us on a phone like that. They didn't have the technology to groom us just in a chat. They have to really be with us, right? But then in that case, we're looking at them. So we see Mr. Danger. This is what we knew to do.
Now we don't.
Now we don't.
So what we're referring to, so Lisa had attended our forum at City Hall, and we had a lot of people that have come together, a lot of really big community leaders that came together to talk about sex trafficking, and we had played a documentary called Groomed, and it was the 8 steps of how not to be sex trafficked. And I just, this morning, met briefly with a principal of a high school, and she actually told me about a book called Glow Kids, and it's about these kids that are pretty much addicted to electronics, and they're glow kids. So it shows a kid with like an iPad in front of them, and the glow is on their face. And what it talks about is how these kids, they'll be communicating with someone who they think is a cute boy or a cute girl when it's actually a man setting them up to take them.
Yes.
Like we were talking about in City Hall. And it was really an incredible conversation that I had with the principal of the school this morning. And it's kind of scary, because one of the guests that we just recently had this past week, his daughter was 13 years old. And she thought she was talking to a boy who was just cute, and they were going back and forth, and it wasn't a boy, it was an actually adult man, and he brainwashed them. I mean, they come from a beautiful family, and they were having a hard time wondering, like, why is our daughter, like, all of a sudden walking up into her room, she's not talking to us. It was the alienation stuff. Remember the alienation stuff? And they were like, okay. So they started digging more into what was going on, and it was a guy from who knows what state that was really about to go meet her, which would eventually led to her being kidnapped and stolen and putting into the sex trafficking. Just like that.
These are the changes, and this is why the opportunity for me to go and help try to flip that mindset, to make that awareness, because so many people in Chicago are so vulnerable to this.
And they get into these big cities too, right?
Yes, that's the whole thing. I mean, and so I get to start right back in my own community and hand back that baton. And, when I planted my seeds, the name of my chapter is called If I Do Not Go Within, I Go Without. And so with that, I start you off where I am at 15, how I planted seeds to grow and then become. And with those seeds, they were planted for 3 years so I can get into the School of Radiology. So you just wanted to hope that plant was going to grow and progress, and it did get me into the School of Radiology. That was where the prayers and it all started. So to be able to start the path and show them, I mean, when we're in school today, because back in that day when I was in school, I wasn't thinking of a purpose. I was thinking about being a veterinarian, but I had no influence. Right. Nobody to say, hey, you need 5 sciences and 3 maths. Mm-hmm. Nope, I just had the standard 2 sciences and a math, right? Right. And so now here I come to the end of the door, and I couldn't get into vet. So what can I do now? Where can I, and radiology was on the list. I was like, I knew somebody who was in there. I had a cool teacher at this high school who gave me a project that asked me, when will this opportunity that you're looking at be saturated? When will the field close? I'm in 1978 in this moment, and he's asking me to look up radiology, and it was going to be saturated in 2015. Okay, to me back then, a long way away. Now look, it was right around the corner.
You hear the word 2000.
I know, but it was just a couple years ago in the field, and that was the documentary from that classroom in 1978, and I'm living it, and here I am, right? So it's crazy, but to be able to bring them a vision board, a journal, these are the things that I'm really looking for, because I want them to create that image. You have to have that movie mind. You have to create it. You can't just wake up and, okay, I got to go to school again, and, well, gosh, it's that teacher or whatever. Yes, right. It's not about those motions. It's every second, every day. What changes are going to come out of that when you plant that seed? Because you're headed to that goal, whatever.
So your motivation has come from?
My motivation aspired because of teenage pregnancies at the time. And I figured, if this is going to happen to me, because you don't know what's going to happen to you, right? I mean, you just don't know. You're all young and, crazy. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was going to benefit my child as my parents had benefited me. Oh. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I didn't want to limit myself to what I was seeing around me.
Sure.
So I wanted to make sure.
Break the boundary.
Yes, and that was, that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest part of that goal at that moment, was to make sure that besides a baby being secure, I was secure.
Sure.
I'd have a job, right? I have a career. So by 21, house, career, car, I had it all. It was a great thing, but it wasn't enough, and it was just the beginning. And now I was in self-discovery from 21 to 25. I had to figure out who I am before I can get out there and handle anything more.
Isn't it something how you have that thing inside of you that pushes you, that tells you you're going to do something different, you're going to do something bigger, you're going to do something that is almost beyond your imagination? I mean, if you were to look at yourself back in the high school, if you were to look at yourself, back when you were sitting in that same high school, can you even begin to imagine that you would be sitting here right now? I mean, not like here at this podcast. I meant like here.
Well, just imagine that I'm sitting here at this podcast.
Well, I know.
Look, I'm with Dr. Susan Feneck.
I meant like here in your life, and making such an inspiration, and being a part of the book, and being a part of such a world, campaign, right?
Yes. Global, and that's what I mean. And as an author, now I have a bigger voice.
You're an author.
I'm an author.
Remember when
Could
you
imagine that?
Remember the days you might have been struggling with that one paragraph
to read that book,
and here you are.
Yes, and here, and again, that was my English teacher that gave me that project. So he might have had something to do with this author stuff.
We always remember our teachers.
Yes,
we really do. We know their first name, their last name.
Mr. Hannah.
We know who sat behind us, who sat in front of us, who always.
It was.
We always remember the first and the last names, right? You can't just say like so and so. It's always like first and last name.
Yes. And then after meeting, Shauna Brennan, when I met with you at the documentary, she is in charge of the Regeneration Vision Center that creates jobs for the sex traffickers, the students who have gone through the classes to rehabilitate themselves.
Can you tell us all about how we can tell us a little about, because that sounds incredible. So is there a way you can tell our listeners how they can reach this organization?
Yes, the Regeneration Vision Center is located here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Shauna Brennan is the CEO of this new program. February 24th, we are hosting the first gala charity to raise money for sex trafficking. So Wonderful. This is going to be really big, and I'm very excited. I volunteer with her at the Regeneration Vision Center, and this is what led me into the documentary, which I was talking to Susan one day, and she was asking me, what am I doing Friday? And I'm telling her I'm going to this documentary, and little did I know.
So what happened was we were trying to figure out when she can come on the podcast, and I was like, well, what are you doing Friday? And this was 2 weeks ago, right? Because I was thinking, because she's talking about her interest in sex trafficking and helping to raise a level of awareness, and I thought, well, maybe what was perfect, I'll invite her to the city hall and invite her to the forum that we're having. And I was like, well, what are you doing Friday? And she's like, well, I'm going to this sex trafficking event. And I was like, wait a minute, are you talking about the same one that we're
and then I look at the brochure, and there she is, right there in the upper hand, right.
Some things are just meant to be.
Yes, and here we are
and
today.
Here we are,
and still talking about it, and making this movement. So the program that I'm trying to create with these young students is going to be called Female Forward, Internal Connections. Female Forward, Internal Connections. Again, self-care, passion with a purpose, really understanding themselves. So this is, when I started all of this, it was all about women, because that's what I've been working with. But as I said, when I started to see the change in their health care and self-care, realized, well, starting with the youth, teaching them. I mean, I started with vitamin E and Noxzema at age 15.
Oh my God, Noxzema.
That was it, Noxzema.
Oh my God, Noxzema.
I was a Noxzema girl.
I used to put like 6 inches of that stuff on my face. I don't know if it ever helped, but...
Yes. Look at us today, for real.
Noxzema. Oh my God, I
yes.
forgot all about that.
Yes, and at 15, I mean, a vitamin E and Noxzema. That was the beginning of my self-care.
Right, yeah, we had Noxzema, we had, we had the hair, the stuff we used to put in our hair. I don't remember the name of it, cholesterol. But anyway, we're getting off track,
yes,
right?
Yes, well,
but no, but what we were doing as youth back then, we thought was a big deal, and it was.
It was
because we those were ways that we were teaching ourselves to help ourselves.
Exactly, and you just learn as you go. But
and that's what we want to teach our youth these days is self-care, even at any age.
Exactly, and that's why I want to come back and as I present myself to let them know this. I mean, a lot of women don't take vitamins. They don't take supplements. I mean, I do a lot of check and statistics when I'm talking to women, and so this is how I kind of wean things out. And in general, when I ask the question about vitamins, a lot of women don't do vitamins. I just never understood that because, especially in today's world, our soils are not making enough minerals and vitamins in there for our food. So to really nourish our bodies, we need that extra supplement to add to it to help us out.
No, I couldn't agree more.
And so with students, unfortunately, there's a lot of crap food going on. And so sometimes I wonder if some of their mentalities are distorted more because of that, because it's accumulating. I mean, they've been doing it since 2000. The schools, what they feed them isn't their best meals either. So with all that lack of nutrition, how healthy can that heart and brain be?
And we were just having this conversation last week about a previous podcast that we had where we had a caller from New York talking about how, because she works with a lot of the schools, the high schools, and she has a company that actually is based on nutrition and, growth of fresh fruits and vegetables. And she was just talking about some of the people just don't recognize the gravity of nutrition, especially in youth, because it affects their cognition, their physical, mental, emotional state. And if you eat poorly, you're going to feel poorly. And I know it sounds very common sense, but at the same time, with these hard times that are going on, if you see an ad that you can get fast food for a few dollars, and with the prices of everything going so high, it's so expensive to eat healthy. And there's so much that goes into healthy eating and the mindset.
But the mindset about that, and for, again, what I see, my goal with my women, retooling women, aside from the youth, retooling women, walking into the years of their pension, they're going to end up spending more on medical care than enjoying pension for vacations.
Yes.
So the investment they make today, I kind of call that a 701k body investment, because it may cost a few more dollars today, but it's less insurance that you'll have to use later.
Yeah,
and so to weigh that out and really see it when you're making those choices, especially maximizing, like say you eat chicken all the time. Okay, if that's going to be it, at least eat an organic chicken. You know what I mean? And everything else can be whatever you do. But whatever you eat the most of, maximize it on the best. And you can't go wrong with that, because little by little, that little bit
adds up.
And it's going to feel better.
Sure.
You will feel better. And then you'll be wanting to do something else a little better. It all starts with that first step. And it's a big step, because in today's world, there's too much around us. Like you said, the coupons, these things, this, it's just really hard. But we, understanding this, when you work in the field, the medical field, as I was growing up through the field, I was a portable tech. I love the portable tech. I pushed that machine around because you'd have to master that shot at one shot, right, to get that patient done. But the people you talk to and meet on the road, the nurses you get to talk to. I walked in ICU. What are all those tomatoes on the wall for? Good for your heart. Okay, I'm going to go home and eat my tomatoes. It was little by little that brought me into a holistic, organic life.
I would love to each month we do these workshops, and they have different themes. Like we have one coming up this Saturday, and it's called for the love of our youth, families, and the community. So there's February. March is going to be mental health. We do healthy minds, and April is going to be about sustainability. And then May, what we're going to do is a healthy eating and fitness workshop, and I would love to have you, be a part of that and talk about the importance, especially with your medical background and everything that you're doing. I think that would be a tremendous asset for everyone to hear you speak about what your experiences, how you're helping, how you're healing, what you've done for the community, and when was it that you were going to your school?
April 7th.
Okay, so then you will have gone to your school, and then we could talk about that as well.
And that would be exciting to come back with new news and see
we would love to hear
differences. That. And another thing is having a lot of inspiration around them, changing the words that they're seeing. I mean, of course, it's all in our billboards, but there's nothing actually inspiring. A hospital that I used to work out in Chicago, and everywhere in the hallways on the wall there was little card boxes, and you just pull one out and it had an inspirational note.
Oh, how nice.
So
and the fact that you remember that meant so much, right?
Yes.
So maybe that's something you can incorporate.
These are the small things that I'm looking to make a change.
They're
Engage
small,
in that change.
They're small, but they're big.
Right?
I mean, look at the impression that it left on you, right?
Yes, and if a student's walking through the halls, I mean, she may be bummed she just failed the test, and then she pulls out that card and, hey, failure isn't everything. You grow from that. That's the root of it all. I mean, you have to fall to get back up. You can't just stay up, So there's just ways to flip that mindset, and
I love it.
I just believe in really doing that.
You're so very inspiring, and just to have people hear your story, to hear what you've overcome, to hear what you're doing, to hear the work that you've done, the book and everything that you have going on is just truly, I mean, you're like an earth angel, You're helping so many people, seriously, and it takes a lot to be a helper and a healer. But at the same time, it's so incredibly rewarding that it's just it's a passion, right?
Right, and that's why the title of self-care, purpose, passion with a purpose. It's not just self-care. I want you to have the passion, because the purpose, you are that purpose. You're doing it for you, and to grow up and be starting my 6th decade right now. I mean, and be able to go have fun later.
Looking back, can you believe that?
Yeah, and it's like yesterday. I mean, everything that I've done, I mean, working at all the best hospitals in Chicago, Northwestern, University of Chicago, all these great people that I trained with, that I learned from, that I grew from.
They're going to be their inspirational, their inspirations in your back pocket for the rest of your life. You'll always have them there, and you'll always refer to them.
Yes.
And you'll always think of them. And we all have those people that we've met, through our lifetime, where we're faced with some sort of a challenge. Geez, what was so and so would have said? What was so and so would have done? Or how should I handle this? And you think about some advice that someone may have given you.
Yes, exactly. That's the beauty of when I come speaking. I really am not here alone. There's so many women behind me, and every little voice is in my ear. Whatever the subject is, there is something there that they taught me to remember, to go with and flow with and be in the zone with.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember just as a child, certain things that certain people have said to me, whether it was family or friends or whatever, and I'm like, here I am all these years later, even today, you think back of the inspiration that people have given you throughout your life, and even that little bit of inspiration can get you through a day.
Yes,
and that's
definitely.
You, right? Think about it. It's you. I mean, you're right. You have a place in this very inspirational, very special book. Look at all the women that I'm sure came in. They were getting these exams done. That were coming in with fear, and I'm sure by speaking with you, they felt calm. They felt more secure. They felt
that really that's the beauty of the whole day. That really is. The minute I say hello, and then when I say goodbye, and sometimes the bond, I'm telling you, it's more soul to soul, because we share so much, and we say goodbye, and I may not ever see her again, but sometimes there's those hugs, and there's just so many blessings in that room.
And the hugs you transmit when you're physical with someone, right? I mean, but you hug a person, you're transmitting all of your positive energy into that other person, right? So think of all of the incredible energy that you've given to all these other people.
What they've given me.
And you.
Today,
right?
well, today I work with 80 and 90-year-olds, 75-year-olds, people who are so active and strong, and they always give me their story of what they retired from and things that they've done through that time, and I just sit back in awe just to know I'm on that road. I mean, every day, every year of my birthday, I'm excited about it, because I know someday the tent's got to go down. But I know as I climb that mountain, it's just going to be such a glorious view up there, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just exciting because of everybody.
Think of the legacy you're leaving. You know, I mean, the tent going down, but I'm just saying, like, we never know, right?
Right.
I mean, you never know.
No.
Tomorrow's never promised, right?
Correct.
But just to know that when you wake up every morning, look at the legacy you're leaving to the whole world, and to the all the patients that you had, all the youth that you're looking to inspire, everyone who's going to be reading your book is now all over the world, you know. And think about people that are going to be reading in all these different languages, in the lives that you're going to be changing, and people that you'll never even meet, and they'll be like, wow, this Lisa Vasquez, she really changed my life.
And this was just the beginning. My little sneak peek in that book was the opening and the appetizer for my book that comes out from that whole lifestyle of all of this. And that's why it was so exciting, that opportunity to be gifted to do this. I mean, you know, these things are already planned, apparently, when you're born, right? The seeds are already planted. But I never seen this coming. I mean, never. And I'm in awe. I'm in gratitude, thankfulness, just what it has brought me. And again, the biggest part is that voice, that global voice, that now I can speak and I can be heard. They may not listen, but they cannot not unhear what I said.
Well, whoever doesn't listen is not meant to, you know, and whoever does,
but they'll always hear it.
Is meant to, right? And
right.
Whoever opens up that book to the Lisa Vasquez chapter, you know, and just the collaboration of such an incredible piece of work that everyone has done is just.
That's the way I got it. There, should I get it for you?
Hold on. So what we'll do is so let's just do this. How can everyone get a hold of you? Is there some place we can find you on the internet or social media? Is there a phone number or email or
help my well-being? helpmywellbeing@gmail.com is my email. And then I have a Facebook group called Internal Connections Holistic Health Makeovers. Lisa Vasquez.
And you can always send us an email at juvenilejusticeimpact@gmail.com, or you can check out our website at impactjji.com. And thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to have you here and to know you and to be supporting each other. And I'm really looking forward to having you at our upcoming workshops, and you can have an even bigger voice then. So thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you.